pronunciation was quite good. My name. Yeah, my parents should have thought more about my future business when I was born. Burkhard is not an easy name. They should have called me Frank or Dieter or something like this. I'm from Germany, so. But it was already quite good. So, you see my name, and we're talking about IP network security, right, in the post-pandemic area. Now, security these days, or let's start differently. When we look at during the last 2 or 3 years till we had COVID, if you look at what happened and how the consumption of the networks these days have increased in all of those different flavors, you see that they have, if there was ever a need to prove, they have really become a necessity and an infrastructure tool which needs to exist and needs to be reliable and stable. Think about what the COVID time could have done to the mental situation of a population or a community if we wouldn't have the networks to exchange information and because you cannot visit your friends and families which are maybe not living close to you anymore, you want to send at least information, pictures, have them on the phone, and so on and so on. So it is quite clear that the networks these days have to work and to be robust against any kind of attack and really deliver the service to the community. Now, we do see that a lot of interesting things happen in the networks as well in various areas. Good things, for sure. I mean, in the access piece, we are talking more and more about open networks, shared RANs, and other things. In the edge aggregation, there's a lot of discussion about disaggregation or spine leaf architectures, meaning not building it with single bigger boxes, but using a couple of small pizza boxes to develop a kind of a open fabric. All of those things obviously open up more attack surfaces, which we may have not had in the past, right? And of course, we still do have all these internet peering points where we are peering with all the other service providers on the market. So, and here obviously any kind of DDoS is becoming everyday's life of a service provider. Especially now. I mean, we are all living in the crisis we have in Europe right now. And we have seen since February an increased amount of attacks. And not just the typical reflection of flooding attacks, but a lot of botnet attacks, DDoS attacks to the service providers. Service providers, governments, organizations, and banks. And by the way, on both sides, not just on one, right? So there is really a kind of a hidden war besides the real war, which we all see every day. And we have to protect the networks. So we need to protect the network infrastructure, we need to protect the services, protect our customers. And yes, there is tons of layers of security and aspects you can talk about, but of course, in the matter of time, we had to focus on a few of them. And we're really looking mainly at the infrastructure piece. So effective and obviously secure infrastructure should be low cost per bit if that's possible to a certain extent. Universal available and, I mean, not just focused on a single point in the network, but really like a peering point, but really looking at all the borders around you, even towards your customers potentially, because their workstations may have been affected by a botnet system and may attack you from their homes, right? Even though the people don't even know about it. And of course, all the security should not introduce high latency or anything like this to the packet forwarding and to the networking for the same user experience. Now, traditionally, we have seen a lot of so-called bolt-on security, mainly at peering points against DDoS attacks or other kind of attacks, which worked well for a long time, and it still works. But this bolting on, I mean, having the systems deployed centrally and the routers redirecting, rerouting the traffic to those scrubbing centers, we believe it's not going to work much longer because those attacks are getting bigger and bigger. So we need to change this mode in the way that we can basically introduce the first line of attack already in basically everyone's router, right? And really provide for a majority of things really a filtering and a blocking already here, and only very special topics may then have to go still to some dedicated systems somewhere centrally. So when we look at the layers of infrastructure which you should have today, I mean, it really starts already by the silicon in your routers, right? I mean, they should basically have the capability to do full performance of high performance DDoS filtering. So, and this requires that they are able to look deep into the packets, not just the IP header information, but really looking also having the capability to look into the payload. Because there you can find typically, specifically for those volumetric DDoS attacks, you can typically find specific patterns by which you can do the filtering and to basically block the traffic already at this layer. The aspect of this filtering is obviously that you also have the capability to provide enough counters for those tens of and hundreds of thousands of filters you may potentially have to actually understand what's going on, right? Which of those filters is hit most and so on, right? And these two aspects come together in the silicon already. And then it's also about line rate encryption, general encryption of any sort of traffic, which there are various flavors around, but we will talk about something where we believe it's still having possibility to be more flexible here. If you move up the layers, then we can talk about the operating system as such. It needs to be secured, of course. I mean, the router itself, that nobody can get access to it. And again, here there is so many flavors or so many aspects of it, of actually getting the boxes or the elements, the line cards shipped from the factory in a sealed way so that you can be sure that nobody has even touched it and installed something or installed a backdoor or whatever. Over the topic that you do a secure boot to the router itself to actually make sure that the image which was loaded is really the one which was intended for this purpose, and it comes from you and not from somebody else. Then, of course, we have certain security functions which you always need to have, like security gateways, carrier-grade NAT, which also provides a sort of security in a way, depending how you deploy it. This layer you may see a bit as a specialized thing. It may not have to run on each box or on each device in the network. These two certainly much more. Specifically, I mean, when you talk about edge routers in the normal sense of the meaning, if you talk about access or backhaul equipment, well, you may not have all these functions, but this edge routers and peering routers, core routers should certainly have this. And then you need a tool which basically helps you to instruct your routers what to do, because they cannot do it themselves. Well, they can do it themselves, but they need instructions. And they shouldn't come from a human being because it doesn't work, it doesn't scale. So you need a system on top which allows you to understand what's going on and basically provides then the rule sets, the filters to the routers to actually do their job. So from the information which you gather from the internet, you can basically create this intelligent database which understands what traffic is good traffic and what is not a good traffic. And in the same way, the data from the routers doing telemetry towards this system will actually feed or will actually enable the system to allow to understand where the potential problem occurs And then in the opposite, the system can instruct the routers to instantiate those filters and basically help to keep or to throw away a big portion of the bad traffic already at those edges of the network. As I said, it's important to understand it's universal, so not just looking at a peering point, but also at your data center point, where there may be third-party applications running where you are not necessarily in charge of, towards your end customers, potentially towards your business customers, and then, I mean, obviously, ideally, low latency, which normally is easy to achieve, and it overall should give you something like 60 to 80% savings when you can drop all those volumetric attacks already at the border of your networks. When we talk about encryption, we basically have since a while those two options. I mean, IPsec, man, I'm not sure when this was invented, long time ago, still used heavily and successfully. A lot of mobile backhaul traffic relies on IPsec encryption these days. It comes with a cost, and it comes also with additional latency, and it's IP only. Okay, the last point maybe not so relevant, but the other two certainly are. So it's kind of aging, if that is the right word, I don't know. But it's an established technology, but it's having also its limit, because typically the addition of IPsec functionality requires lots of computes and lots of power. On the other hand, since a couple of years, we talk about MACsec, so layer 2 security or MAC layer security. Low latency for sure, silicons have implemented it quite well. It is relatively simple, but the problem here is it's typically Ethernet hop by hop, so the nodes, I mean the neighboring nodes, doing the work with each other. And I mean, via standard, the only way you have typically, you have the possibility to allow to keep the VLAN tags in clear, so you could transmit or traverse a layer 2 network in between if you want to. But I mean, in our typical service provider networks, that's not enough, right? So the reality is, however, that in a lot of service provider networks, there is a lot of equipment out there which is not MACsec capable. And it will be for the next 5 to 10 years, potentially, right? I mean, that's simply something we all have to work with. And therefore, what we are going to come out with is what we call AnySec, right? It's not going to be limited on a pure MAC layer and a pure hop by hop, but it is going to be available even for any kind of layer. So you have the free choice to select if you want to do the encryption or what information you want to keep in clear. And you also have the free choice if you want to say, okay, these kind of LSPs or these kind of services I want to encrypt, and the others I don't want to encrypt for whatever reason. And that's really something which we believe is applicable then for a network, because the good thing here is that it is a system which is not relying on hop-by-hop functionality. If you leave the MPLS LSPs or the segment routing information in clear, for example, or you leave a service tag in clear as well, then this kind of packets can traverse any sort of traditional or legacy network without any problem. So basically, it doesn't require all of the nodes to have this capability, but really the edge nodes. They exchange the information needed for setting up the tunnels, and then it's going to go through it. And a label switch router, for example, can simply forward the traffic based on clear labels. So all in all, we have to really make sure, we as vendors, you as the service providers, have to make sure to be able to protect your infrastructure in a reasonable way. It's really going to be more and more critical, and all sorts of effects we have seen in the past, or events when there were security breaches, we have to avoid by all means. And protecting the services, protecting the customers, it must be a line rate, it must be low latency, and it must be basically around your network at the edges. It's not just the peering points where you peer with other operators. And you shouldn't have any performance compromises in this implementation. You should have enough statistics to actually see what's going on. And it's not about, interestingly enough, this is something which doesn't exist. It seems still there's a lot of devices out there where when you enable security, when you enable ACLs, that the performance takes an somewhat unexpected hit overall. Okay, that was my part. Thanks a lot for your attention.
Thank you very much. And we have questions. Okay, Jeff, I see that you're today all excited about questions.
The light is pretty disturbing, by the way. It's hard to see, but okay, yeah.
So IPsec is not going away. We are terminating millions of sessions, and it's growing, right? But the question to you, IPsec is a standard defined by ATF. MACsec is a standard defined by IEEE.
Yeah.
What is it you are doing, and how do you expect interoperability with someone else?
Interoperability with someone else? Or what?
I mean, you've described some encryption technology which is not industry standard.
The AnySec.
Yes.
Well, we have having started discussions in the IETF to bring this idea in. Now, well, personally, I'm not involved in the IETF, but what I heard is that there is, not overwhelming, but certain interest to look into this overall, right?
So practically today, I would require a Nokia device on both sides to encapsulate and decapsulate.
For the time being, yes.
Thank you.
I mean, we are using the general MACsec encryption logic, right? But I mean, there's still some sort of extra signaling going on between the vendors, not being node by node and so on.
Yeah, hi. So in your slide, you mentioned about your SR device, right? So that SR box inbuilt, it has a feature of DDoS protection, or you just took this as an example?
Yes and yes. I mean, it should represent an example of a good router, but yes, it also has DDoS capabilities. I mean, by being able to really instantiate hundreds of thousands of filters and being able to look deep into the packet,
does it
payload.
mean like we don't need any external DDoS protection mechanism if you go with SR?
I wouldn't say you don't need any extra. I mean, we are capable of filtering these mega big DDoS attacks, I mean volumetric attacks pretty much. There will still be some specialities, some specific attacks where you still may need a smaller scale scrubbing center, let's call it this, where we are redirecting the traffic for some special purposes. But it helps you, and that was what was shown here at the end in the sense of savings. It helps you to contain this specialized system at a certain scale, and you don't have to scale it to the gigabit attacks you typically see today.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have, more questions? Yes, yes,
yeah.
We have time.
Do you mean that the scrubbing center will be an SROS equipment? Or
No, the real scrubbing center, when I talk about the scrubbing center, then it would not be in the SROS. It would be via a system of your choice, potentially.
And
right?
why not an SROS equipment? I mean, Nokia equipment, as you have FP4, FP5 performances.
That's why we have
you can filter on the payload and so on. You have very good performances on the line card. So why not a Nokia devices for scrubbing center?
We use the performance to do these pattern matching filtering in extreme volume, right? And with hundreds of thousands of filters. Now, those scrubbing systems, in a lot of cases, I mean, require a lot of compute power to really look into the application layers and so on to find the source of the problem or the source of the attack. And that's not what we are focusing on, right? I mean, there is a couple of vendors out there which do this very good for quite a long time, and yeah, a lot of those are also deployed. But with a growing number of those volumetric attacks, you have the choice to either make those even bigger and much bigger, or you look for a kind of a combination of approaches, meaning doing what you can at the edge and then doing the specialized thing somewhere central. And there is actually also another presentation later in the other stream from one of my colleagues about this in more detail, I guess. Or you come to our booth, which is outside. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.